All right. Looks like everybody's coming in. Good to see you all. We'll get started really soon. Please, while we are bringing people into the Zoom, add into the chat where you are zooming in from today. We'll see where everybody's calling in. And then this is also, I see everybody starting to turn on their cameras. Lovely. This is a program requirement, by the way, so please make sure to turn on those cameras if you haven't already. Wonderful. We'll get started very soon.
All right, so we see San Francisco, California, North Carolina, Virginia, New Orleans, Los Angeles, Nashville. That's where I'm based as well. Let's see, Alexandria, Virginia, Baltimore. It's looking like we have people from every major region. I'm not sure. Oh, okay, Missouri.
Mhm. There goes our central time zone.
Yeah. Love it. All right, Hassan, let me know when you want me to start.
All right, let's get started.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Without further ado, my team and I want to welcome you to the 2025 Our Future is Science Kickoff. My name is Dr. Jelana Sheets, and I'm the Associate Director of the Aspen Institute Science and Society Program, where I have the privilege of co-leading Our Future is Science, which we affectionately call OFIS. We are excited to have you here tonight, whether you're a returning OFIS student or joining us for the first time. I want to begin by saying how deeply grateful we are for this opportunity. OFIS is powered by your curiosity, your voice, and your vision for what science can do, not just in what you may think of as a science lab, but in your communities. And so we've got an exciting evening ahead. You'll hear about what's in store for the year, meet some brilliant minds that make up this cohort, and get inspired by the possibilities that lie ahead. So thank you for showing up. As Hassan said, with your camera on, with your heart and mind open, and your commitment to learning and leading. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay. Before we get into the topic of today, I felt like it was important that we really talk about building community. And so these are some things that we've kind of touched on in the orientation sessions that you all attended. But at OFIS, we're here to learn about STEM community connections, but we're also here to build community. And so that means we try to show up fully, ready to listen, ready to share, and ready to support one another. And so one of the ways that we do this, and I see that you all are already getting into the habit of it, is keeping our camera ons during events like tonight, our community talks, workshops, mixers, game nights, and most importantly, your mentorship team meetings. And so we understand that things, but our default is to be visible and be present, not just here, but present. And so it helps us build trust, create connections, and feel like we are all here together. So just keep that in mind as you navigate our program. And then we also follow the Aspen Institute Community Agreement, which guides how we treat each other with care, respect, and inclusion. And so, I want you all to think about how you show up tonight, but also over the next several months, not just for yourself, but for the entire OFIS community, because this space is literally ours to create. To give you a little bit more information, Our Future is Science is a program within the Aspen Institute Science and Society program. Science and society is grounded in four pillars that shape everything. There's global science, science and community, public trust in science, and science policy. And so our future is science sits in the science and community pillar. But the things that we talk about, the things that we do, they will all come up in your mentorship experience. They'll also come up in your science engagement projects and in how we think about science as a tool for social change. Our Future is Science launched in 2020, and it was driven by youth activism on critical issues like climate change, water mismanagement, and infectious disease. It also arose from the urgent need to promote diversity in STEM fields and build a more equitable future. And so the students in our network are the next generation of leaders, not only in science, but in their communities as well. And so during tonight's kickoff, we will officially launch you all towards a journey through Our Future is Science's unique community-centered method. And you'll be supported by near peer mentors and alumni who we call ambassadors, and a stellar group of featured speakers who will demonstrate the many ways that we can participate in science and engage in our communities. So OFIS is built on four key pillars: the mentorship program, the ambassador program, the Champions for Science and Community program, and we also have an educational campaign pillar. And so each one is designed to empower students to tackle today's most pressing challenges. And over the past 4 years, we've received over 800 applications, and this year we received over 130 applications and selected 24 new mentees and alumni ambassadors. And so this is a special year for our Champions program as well, because we're eager to get to know you and your communities better throughout the year. And so we revamped our Champions program and look forward to engaging with them over the course over the next several months as well. So we're incredibly grateful for the generous support of our current program sponsors, including the Richard King Mellon Foundation, WellPoint Tennessee, Burroughs Welcome Fund, 3M, and the Carson Family Charitable Trust for their support this year. We would also like to acknowledge our past supporters, including the Samueli Foundation, the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, the Amgen Foundation, the Rita Allen Foundation, Lida Hill Philanthropies, Genentech, and the Management. Without these funders, none of this would be possible. There's no way we could be here into our fifth year, which is where we are today. And so I want to kind of acknowledge our team. I give my deepest gratitude to these individuals here on the screen. Together, we are building a future where science can help make our communities healthier, stronger, and more resilient. And so, through the work of these people here, and I know most of you have just met Hassan and I, but believe me, there's other people working behind the scenes to ensure that you all have a rewarding experience. And so you'll get to engage with them at different time points over the course of the next several months. But their support, along with you all, and then Hassan and I, we hope to make the fifth year of this program unforgettable. I do want to just share a little background about how we think about science and the scientific method here in OFIS. And so you may have learned about the scientific method in school. I think by this point, most of you have. But at Our Future is Science, we center the community in every step of the process. So what does that mean? Well, it means that we don't just start with a random topic. When you think about the projects that you're going to do, you start with a real issue in your community, okay? You don't just gather data, you listen to people's experiences. And so you don't just present facts, you comb through the evidence and you tell a story that connects science to solutions. And you speak in a way that resonates with your specific audience or audiences. And so in this model, your lived experience matters just as much as the research that you'll do. And what makes this model different is that every step is grounded in community, not just data. And so students learn that science isn't separate from society, which is what sometimes I think that's what happens, or that's the perception that people have. They're not separate from one another. It's something that you can use to make a change, starting right where you are. And so I'll pass it on to Hassan so he can give everyone an overview of the type of events that we have in this program. And then we'll, continue with the program and announce our teams and so forth.
Great. Thank you, Jelena. So let's talk about OFIS events. We'll be seeing each other plenty of times. This is the first time we're all together, but starting in December, we'll have our bi-monthly events. So of those bi-monthly, that means every 2 weeks, we'll be having either a community talk or a professional development workshop, maybe a special event, and we'll explain what all of these are in detail next. So starting with our community talks, these are public events where we bring together scientists, policymakers, and community leaders to illustrate the connections between science and community. Here are two examples, but we've hosted over 20 community talks in the past 5 years. Next up are community workshops. So community workshops are slightly different. These interactive meetings, we will explore professional development concepts such as science engagement, science communication, public speaking, and how to elevate and leverage your OFIS experience for the future. We also have special events. So these will be added to the calendar in response to what current and former students have asked for. These can include informal events hosted by our ambassadors, like this community mixer we did a Shark Tank last year, or they could be a little bit more formal, where our community can get to know each other. You can see here we had a panel last year on the STEM powerhouses hosted in HBCUs, and these are historically Black colleges and universities. And then lastly, these are in development. So our mentors will be taking you all into a tour behind the scenes of their lives as researchers. These lab tours will show you just how expansive the world of science can be and the many different ways you can engage in science on a day-to-day. Now, if you're curious and you want to learn more about these, all of these events are located on our YouTube channel. So if you go onto YouTube and search up at Our Future is Sci on YouTube, you'll be able to access not just the videos we mentioned, but other science engagement projects, educational campaigns, and more. So now's the time that everybody's been waiting for. We've been keeping a secret from all of you, and I'll be passing it on to Jelana to reveal our mentorship teams and the rest of our cohort.
All right, drum roll, please. So we've been keeping it top secret, but we're happy to share who's who. I see some smiles and claps. Thanks, Chloe. So Hassan, you can go to the next slide. We're starting in New York. Our first mentorship team is supported by the Carson Family Charitable Trust, which focuses on funding initiatives that alleviate poverty and support community development in New York City. And so this year's Carson Family Trust scholars are Minty Gabriella from Forest Hills, New York, Minty Mabel from Brooklyn, New York, Minty Ahmed from Brooklyn, New York as well. And our mentors for this team are Brenda Wakitha, a returning mentor from the University of Missouri, and Chessa Cox from the University of California, San Francisco. Okay. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Next, we're going to travel south for our second mentorship team. I love the sound effects. And they are from North Carolina and supported by the Burroughs Wellcome Fund, which focuses on nurturing a diverse group of leaders in biomedical sciences through education and discovery. They also have a major focus on science communication. This year's Burroughs Wellcome Fund scholars are Minty Jonathan from Greensboro, North Carolina, Minty Layla from Kernersville, North Carolina, Minty Kezia from Summerfield, North Carolina. And the mentors guiding this team are Ann Marcia from Carnegie Mellon University, Kavia from Virginia Tech, and coming back for another year in our program is Victor from the University of Missouri. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And our third mentorship team takes us to Tennessee. Where WellPoint, Tennessee is committed to advancing health equity and improving community outcomes through youth opportunity and health education pathways. So our WellPoint scholars will dedicate their science engagement project to exploring health and healthcare disparities. And they are Hannah, Caleb, and Andrew, all from Nashville, Tennessee, as mentees, and then Minty Malia is also from the Middle Tennessee area, who's from Laverne, Tennessee. And so the mentors for this team are Cassandra from Colorado State University and Laura from Virginia Tech. Okay. I'm also excited to share that in January 2026, we will welcome 10 Richard King Mellon Foundation scholars representing communities across the Southwest Pennsylvania area. And so there'll be more young people joining the program, more ideas, more energy. And so we're just really excited to have a full cohort this year. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge our champions in our revamped champions program. Okay, so these are students that came highly recommended and have shown a strong passion for STEM, storytelling, and social impact. We are so excited to welcome them into the program. The 2025-2026 OFIS champions represent every major region of the country, including the Northeast, South, Midwest, and West Coast, reflecting the program's national reach and the diverse communities that our scholars and champions call home. And so our champions represent, the next wave of youth scholars, of youth leaders who will contribute their voices, their ideas, and their creativity to the OFIS community. And we can't wait to see how they'll show up. So welcome to the OFIS family, everyone. Welcome to those that are returning. And if there are any champions on the call, please use the raise hand reaction or just wave so that you can say hi. Hey, y'all. All right. And I'll pass it over to Hassan.
Right. Thanks, Shalana. So now we have our last group. We'll be talking about the ambassadors. So like we mentioned before, these ambassadors are former mentees and former mentors who've come back for another year in OFIS. You'll be seeing a lot of them at community talks and workshops. They'll also be hosting community mixers and developing their own multimedia outputs. And we'll be talking about that in our own breakout room later on today. So before that, I wanted to give the ambassadors a moment just to share what their favorite experience was in OFIS all these years. I'll start with Anthony, and then he can pass it on to the next one.
And Hassan, you can turn this, stop sharing your screen.
Perfect.
Thanks, Hassan. Hi, everyone. My name's Anthony Dan. I'm now starting the 6th year of my PhD at the University of Arizona. I've been with OFIS now for 3 years, and this is starting on my fourth. My favorite moment is actually one that happened almost just a year ago when I presented at SACNES with Hassan, a group output created in OFIS, and that was a really memorable moment to be able to join together with Hassan, who was such a great mentor, and then also just collaborations with people around the country. Really excited to meet with you all.
Thanks, Anthony. Next up, we'll go with Rachel.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel. I think I've also been with OFIS for 2 or 3 years. I think my favorite part of OFIS is definitely like getting to meet people from all across the country. Like even now, there's like a lot of people from different states and stuff that offer a lot of different perspectives. So getting to talk with all of them is really interesting and fun.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anchal, are you in the room?
Okay, hi, my name is Anshul. I'm a freshman at UAB, and I had joined OFIS in my 10th grade year, which I think is 3 years ago now. One of my favorite memories was, I think, our last meeting when we presented our work in front of everyone. And it was really great to see all the amazing output that everyone else had and what they had been doing in their respective areas.
Thank you. Amira, you're up next.
Hi everyone, my name is Amira and I was a mentee, I think 2 years ago, my senior year. And I also think my favorite part was the end when we had that like capstone project and was just kind of like showing everybody how everything came together. I thought it was interesting because I highly doubt we knew what we were doing at first. So it was really cool to see it come together. Um, yeah, I'm excited to meet you all.
Great. Isabel, you want to go next, and then we'll finish off with Shalissa.
Hi everyone, I'm Isabel and I was a mentee about 2 years ago. And one of my favorite parts was creating my capstone project with all the other mentees in my group. It was a great time and I really liked meeting everybody.
Wonderful. Last but not least, Shalissa.
Hi, everybody. My name is Shalisa, and I was a mentee last year in my junior year, and now I'm a senior this year in high school. And I think definitely one of my favorite parts was kind of the whole mission of OFIS and kind of how the whole science connects with social justice thing, because for my capstone, I was able to take my project outside of the capstone like realm, and I was able to present my research at a board of education meeting. And it was very cool to see how like my research could actually be applied in a social justice situation. And I think that's the best thing to get out of it all. So yeah, and I'm very excited to meet everybody.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you all for sharing your experiences. And you'll continue new mentees and new mentors over the course of the next several months. You'll get to get to know the ambassadors a lot. And there'll be some events that are public events where the champions will be able to attend. So you'll get to know the ambassadors because we really pride ourselves in building a sense of community. And every year we try to get better at that, given that this is a virtual program. Okay. And so tonight's kickoff event is the beginning of our monthly community talk series, where you'll meet a range of people working to combat societal issues with science, technology, math, or engineering. And so our first speaker is Dr. Raven, the science maven Baxter. Um, she already knows that I am a super fan. And so I'm very excited to have her here today and share with you a little bit about her before she does her presentation. So Dr. Raven Baxter is a molecular biologist and science communication executive who builds scalable systems that move science from idea to impact. She leads the Science Maven, which is a multi-platform enterprise reaching more than 500,000 people with roughly 500 million monthly impressions. And she is the executive director of the Science Haven, a nonprofit converting that reach into measurable access and learning. Flagship program Stellar Dreams has provided more than 100 telescopes and astronomy kits across 15 states, while the Science Communication Fellowship trains emerging scientists to translate genetics, molecular biology, and health science for real communities. Dr. Baxter's operating model is rooted in bench rigor and inclusive pedagogy. She began in immunology and protein engineering at Buffalo State, the Wake Forest Institute for Regenerative Medicine, and Albany Molecular Research, and then taught microbiology and mentored over 400 students. Her PhD in science education from the University of Buffalo produced a framework for culturally responsive science communication grounded in hip hop and community voice. She has since led cross-sector campaigns with Netflix, 3M, who's been a major sponsor of our work at OFIS, as well as Olay, Regeneron, and Brooks Running that aligns brand goals with evidence-based education and public benefit. As Director of Development for the Association of Science Communicators and a very active member of the Washington Academy of Sciences, Dr. Baxter advances field standards, partnerships, and funding for mission-driven science engagement. Honors include Forbes 30 Under 30, Fortune 40 Under 40, and Ebony Power 100. On advisory boards, she delivers science depth, audience strategy, and program design that moves from inspiration to implementation and from implementation to scale. And so I'm happy to also share that she is the newest member of the Our Future is Science Advisory Group. So with that being said, I want to welcome Dr. Raven Baxter. And if you have any questions, hold on to them, put them in the chat during the Q&A session. We'll call on you to unmute and read your question to Dr. Baxter. All right. Take it away, Raven.
My goodness. Oh, hello. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Can you hear me now? Should be quality sound. Wow, I am so excited to speak with you all. Congratulations on being a part of the Our Future is Science program. You have a ton of opportunities coming your way through this program, and I am genuinely excited to learn about all of the projects you'll be working on, all of your growth personally and professionally. It's definitely something that I wish I had when I was a junior scientist. So I'm living vicariously through you all and wishing you the best of luck and success. But I am here today to hopefully inspire you as you go and continue on your way to becoming amazing contributors to the scientific community. That intro is very, very great. I believe that each and every one of you are capable of great things as well. And I want to share a little bit about my journey of how I got there. I think that you all will enjoy hearing about how I became the science maven and what kind of work that has influenced to this day. All right. So, how many of you can relate? And you can maybe like show your hands or put something in the chat. But how many of you feel like you knew from a really early age that you wanted to become a scientist or get involved in STEM? And I'm the same way. I tell people that I came out of the womb with a lab coat on and a clipboard and a test tube and a microscope and just ready to take on the world. I had a lot of questions about how the world works. And so while I was raised by a single parent household, shout out to mom. She did the best she could to quench my ever growing thirst for knowledge. And that came to a nexus point when I was about 6 years old. Um, we were exiting a grocery store at nighttime, and I looked up in the sky while we were in the parking lot. And you all will never believe what we saw in the sky. We saw a ring around the moon that looked a lot like a rainbow. And 6-year-old Raven was absolutely petrified. I mean, like, I was panicking. It was huge. It felt like a tractor beam from a UFO. I'm like literally shaking. I might have like peed on myself. I don't remember, but I was really scared. Like, I want you guys to know I was really genuinely shook. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, like, we're getting abducted by aliens right now. And I'm panicking, panicking. And she's trying to calm me down. I'm hysterical. And she says, Raven, I don't know what that is around the moon, but I can guarantee you it's not a spaceship and that we are not getting abducted by aliens. But I don't have an answer for you. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't have an answer for me? What do you mean? And she said, you're going to have to find that out. And so I didn't sleep that night. And it was the weekend. It was a Friday, happened on a Friday. The next morning, my mother took me to the library, local library. Guys, I'm 32, so we didn't really have superb internet. Like, that wasn't the thing when I was 6. She dumped me at the library. So I went to the science section of the library and she said, well, good luck. Find it out. I'll be right back. And she went to go run some errands and I'm unsupervised in the library. But I went to the meteorology section of the library and I learned about lunar rainbows. And apparently that's what we were seeing. And so I basically wrote not a lab report. I didn't do an experiment, but I wrote up a report for her to explain to her what a lunar rainbow was. And we both learned. And that was my first exposure to being a scientist, exploring, researching, answering questions about the unknown, and then taking what I learned and presenting that to people who didn't know anything about what I was sharing, but then also seeing the reaction from my mom. She was so intrigued. And she said, okay, wow, like, well, do you want to learn more about the sky and weather? I said, yeah. And so the Weather Channel became my favorite channel. I'm sure you guys have no idea what that is, but there was a channel on TV when we used to watch TV that they would only just play the weather report. And they had like cool shows like, about extreme storms and tornadoes and hurricanes and like all that stuff. But I was obsessed with that show or the channel. Eventually I went to space camp because I absorbed literally every piece of knowledge I could have absorbed up through the age of like 10. From 6 to 10, I was obsessed with the sky. And then I was like, okay, well, what's next? Space. Got a full ride to space camp And I think you all can go to space camp. I think they have different age groups. So if you're interested in going to space camp, they do offer full rides, scholarships. So consider that. And it was very interesting. I wanted to become an astronaut because I wanted to see what else was out there beyond the sky. Has anyone here does anyone here have a space interest or interest in like astronomy, the cosmos, physics, etc.? Very cool. Um, my partner is a NASA theoretical astrophysicist. So if any of you have interest in black holes, he studies black holes, and I'm happy to connect you because he likes talking to young scientists just like you. So, anyways, back to my story. There, I went to space camp, right? Still a highly enthusiastic, excited young scientist and very playful. How many of you guys are playful, unserious people? Me. I wasn't a class clown. I wasn't a class clown, but I was just like, why do we have to be so serious, right? Like learning is fun to me. I love exploring. So, why do we have to act like it's it is a big deal, but like why do we have to be so serious? I wasn't buying into it. And so I was very unserious at space camp. And that was it was interesting. I was with a whole bunch of kids. Well, they weren't a lot. It was maybe like a dozen kids from all around the world, from Australia, Europe, South America, Canada, everywhere in the United States. And it was a very diverse group of kids. And we spent a week together doing junior astronaut training. They taught us not only about like being an astronaut, but also about all of the accessory careers to the space exploration industry, right? Chemistry, physics, astronomy, biology, all of that, engineering, especially. And so we trained in how to take on different roles within a space mission. And we actually did mock space missions inside of a real spaceship. And so the camp counselor gave us all jobs to do. And there's, if you ever watch a space flight uh, live show on TV where like NASA's doing the countdown and everything, you see there's people in mission control, there's people in the spaceship, there's people everywhere doing things to contribute to the rocket launch. And so I had the job of being in mission control. And they gave me the job of being what they call INCO, which I think is Integrated Communications Officer or something. And essentially, it was my job to do the countdown and like basically yap on the intercom and explain all of the things that were going on leading up to and through the rocket launch. And so for someone like me who's very unserious, that's a very serious job. To be the yapper, the professional yapper of the mission. And it was also pretty high pressure because the space camp was inside of a museum. And so while we're doing this, there are actual people like that are not at space camp, like regular, people from the outside who are coming in watching us conduct this mission. And so I'm on the intercom that everyone in the museum can hear. And we are about to launch our rocket, and I'm doing the countdown, and it's like T minus 10, T minus 9, T minus 8, etc. And we get to T minus 1, and I say, and you guys are definitely too young to know this reference. The older people will understand. I get to T minus 1, and I say, guys, I just saved 15% on my car insurance by switching to Geico. And I was on the intercom of the museum, so unserious. And so that happened. And, you know, that didn't stop the mission. I still did T minus 0. We still did liftoff. Everything went well. But what I did not know was that we were all getting graded on professionalism. And I had never heard of the word professionalism. I was like 10 years old. What do you mean we're getting graded on professionalism? So professionalism means like your I actually should look the actual definition of professionalism up. But basically, um professionalism having professionalism means that you are conducting yourself in a way that contributes to a healthy workplace and one that is inclusive, respectful, etc. And so, I didn't think that telling people I switched car insurance to Geico and save 15% was unprofessional. I thought it was funny. But what we lost points for the team. And so, people were like kind of upset with me for a brief period of time, but I was like, guys, we're at camp. We're having fun. Like we still learned how to fly rockets, okay? It's pretty impressive. But from that point on, guys, I really realized that I want to keep having fun while I'm learning science, while I'm doing science. I want to keep exploring. I want to keep sharing what I know. And I don't think that my personal outlook on what people think a scientist should look like or what a scientist should act like or be like, I don't think that I fall into that that narrative, right? That common stereotype, really. And I had to figure out what that meant for me. Do you all ever think about what you want to present as a scientist? Like, how do you want to show up in the world as someone who is in science? Do you think about that at all? Raise your hand if you have. Very interesting. Yes. Can I hear from the audience what some of your thoughts are when you think about how you would like to show up professionally in science? Maybe Layla, I see you like put your hand up. Sorry to call you out.
I think I've always thought that I want to show up in a workplace as someone who my coworkers or anyone can always come to. Like, I want to be very accessible and friendly and social, if that makes sense.
I love it.
And it's a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I feel like when I see like different like office shows, and when I just think of like my parents and their experience in their offices, they are always talking about and bragging about the people that are who they can always come to. And I feel like that's who I want to be when I go to a workplace.
I love that. That is so special. Thank you for sharing that. Andrew, I see you have your hand up. Oh boy. Can anyone hear Andrew? Andrew. Uh-oh. Does anyone want to give it give it a go while we're waiting for Andrew?
I can go.
Sure.
I think when I show up to my lab or anything, I like to bring an element of like fun and lightheartedness. I think that helps when you're always stressed and busy. And that's something about my mom that I saw her like model as a health professional as well, that just made me want to be similar to her.
I love that. Fun, accessible, welcoming, I'm hearing. Anyone else? Caleb?
I'll often say that I speak like more pedantic, so I would like to say that I want to be more like a relatable scientist, because no one wants to be like talked down to or they're someone's presenting to them. That's how I would describe the way I was going to see as a scientist.
I love that. Oh, and Andrew's back. Andrew, do you want to try again?
There's an issue with your audio, Andrew.
Oh, if you can put it in the chat, Andrew, I'd still love to
Can
hear.
you hear me?
There
Yes.
you
I
go.
can maybe use my
Oh, you're right there.
Yeah,
They're
I'm right
twins.
next to him. I would say that I want to be remembered as like the lighthearted playful person, but also gets work done when I go into like a workplace. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, y'all. I feel like I'm with my people. I have the same values that you have. And believe it or not, I'm going to tell you a couple more stories. And what you're going to probably experience in your careers is people trying to, and I don't want to make this seem like it's a bad thing, right? But I think that it's very common. It will be common that you find people who don't have those values, right? And it doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means they're different. But you will have to, as you grow in your careers, navigate that and figure out what that means in practice. Like in practice, what does it mean to be accessible? What does it mean to be playful, to be joyful as a scientist, to be welcoming, inclusive? I'm going to tell you another funny story. We're going to fast forward to college, which some of you are in college already, which is pretty cool. And it sounds like some of you are already like involved in research, which is super cool. Um, I did go to college and I ended up majoring in biology. And um, I'm first generation scientist. This is my first go. Like nobody in my family has done science, although they have been to college. Um, and so research was very new to me, right? The the most that I had done was just like stuff in school, like book reports and, labs in high school and whatnot. Now, in college, there's a little bit of a different structure to doing scientific research. Like you have actual laboratories and you're running real experiments and asking real research questions that hopefully you can even publish, and like that would be a part of you leveling up as a professional in the scientific community. And so when I was a junior in college, my third year, I did my first research project. And I had a supervisor who was very cool. We love him. Don't paint him as the villain, okay, guys? When I tell you this story, we love him. There is no smoke. But I did my first research project. I was researching the effect of drought, flooding, chemical exposure, and other temperature conditions on the activity of soil bacteria. And bacteria in the soil basically run the world. They're very important to creating the conditions necessary for like fertile grounds, therefore like our foods and our crops and everything like that. So I spent an entire year researching this, running tests on different types of soil, creating different conditions, fooling around with this equipment. And at the end of the year, I had all of this data. I didn't know what to do with it, guys. Mind you, I just don't. I'm there because I want to graduate and I don't know what I'm doing. So I have all this data, and then my supervisor was like, "Well, you've got to do something with the data. Why don't you present it at the student research symposium?" And I was like, "Oh, I guess I could do that." And so he explains to me, how do I put together a poster? And he says, basically write up, evaluate your data as if it was one of your lab reports in your lab class. And you have your hypothesis, you have your um, your research, you have your conclusions, your results, etc. And just put it in a poster format. Just make your research into a lab report and make your lab report into a poster that you can hang up and stand next to at the symposium. And so what this symposium is supposed to be like, a lot of students have their own posters to present their research. Raise your hand if you've ever presented a research poster. Okay, great. A lot of you have. Wonderful. So you know what it is. I won't spend time explaining that. So I go to make my poster, and let me tell you what I did. Mind you, I have no idea. Like, I've never done this before. He did not really explain to me what to do. I went to Joann Fabrics. I went to Michael's. I went to Hobby Lobby. I went to Amazon. And when I tell you that I put together something that you probably could hang in the Louvre, it was a very eclectic combination of rhinestones, feathers, scrapbook paper, glitter. It was giving peacock. It was giving like kaleidoscope scientific poster. Mind you, I've never done this before. And so my advisor says, all right, well, the symposium's tomorrow. Let me just look over your poster. I want to see, make sure everything's on there is good so I can send you off. This is the day before the symposium. I bring my poster to this man's office and I unravel the poster. I show it to him. And his face, he already didn't have much color on his face. Whatever was left drained out. This man was ghost white. And he said, Raven, what did you do to your poster? And I said, I made a poster. What do you mean? And he says, it's supposed to look like this. And he points behind him and it's like a traditional, it looks like a CVS receipt. Okay. It was black and white, Times New Roman font. All right. It was like, it wasn't giving anything. Girl, give us nothing. That's what it was giving. And he said, it was supposed to look like that. And I'm like, my poster is supposed to look like that? No, you gotta be kidding me. And he said, well, we still have time. The printing office is still open. And so if you can make your poster in PowerPoint, you can send it to me. I'll look it over and then you can send it to the printing office and they can print your poster. Knowing now what you all know about me and given y'all's values that you said to me, what do you think I did? And then you tell me what you would do if that was what you were told to do. Go ahead and raise your hand. Caleb.
I would probably pull an all-nighter personally and just like assert it in like the correct formatting. Knowing you probably would do the same thing as me. Or yeah, I think you would do the same thing as me, I think so. Yeah.
Interesting take. Does anyone else have an opinion?
I feel like you kind of just put the same type of poster on PowerPoint and printed it.
And Laura, what would you do?
I probably would do the same.
Anshal, I saw that you had your hand up. What's your opinion and what would you do?
I think you would keep your fun poster. I think I would maybe transfer it. I won't color it in my poster, but I think I'd still transfer it to PowerPoint and keep all the color and fun.
I love your answers. Anshal, you're 100% correct. That's exactly what I did. I kept my poster. I didn't change it. I did not put it in PowerPoint format. I took my crinkly, rhinestone, feathered, glittered poster to that symposium the very next day. Let me tell you guys why. Because I had to make a decision, right? My values, again, I value playfulness. I value joy. I value authenticity. I value those things. Those are my core values at my core. And I had to decide whether it would be appropriate or not for me to actually bring my poster like that to the session. And I looked it up. I looked up, are there any rules, right? Like in coming to the symposium, are there any requirements? The only requirement was that my poster be a certain size. They didn't say it had to be digitally printed or anything like that. And so I said, I'm bringing it because I want to represent myself and my work. Also, whether or not my poster had rhinestones on it or not, the hypothesis was going to be the same. The data was going to be the same. The rigor was not going to be any less. Okay, so I said, my work is still worthy. And so I took my poster to the symposium. Y'all, it was like, imagine like a peacock being in a sea of pigeons with the wings out on full display. I stuck out like a sore thumb, and that was okay. I actually didn't really think anything of it until I had a line of people waiting to speak to me about my work. Now, the symposium was in the student union, which is like a common gathering place where people, throughout the entire college can come and just hang out. And so anybody can walk up and talk to you. I had people from all kinds of majors come up to me and say, "This is a science poster?" And I'm like, "Yeah. Did you see the title about soil bacteria?" Like, yes, this is science. And they said, "Well, I didn't know that you could do science like that." And I said, "Really?" And they said, "Yeah." Some people were like physical education majors asking me how to change their majors to biology because they were like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that you could do that." I had people asking me really intricate questions about bacterial functioning and homeostasis, etc. And what really stuck with me was the comments of people being inspired, especially people in both in and out of STEM equally were inspired to see science presented in such a different, authentic way. And I actually ended up getting an award for my research. And the award had nothing to do with the physical appearance of my poster. It had everything to do with the actual rigor of my work. And so that also signaled to me that um, perception, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? And you can be taken seriously while navigating outside of the traditional stereotypical representation of science and scientists. People can take you seriously. And it's not a me problem if other people don't see me as valuable because I don't fit a stereotype. And my advisor had no idea that I had actually done this. And so I, later that day after the symposium, brought my award to his office with my crusty rhinestone poster. And he said, "Oh my God, like you got an award? You took you took that to the symposium, you got an award?" And I was like, "Yes, because I did great work this year." And I am really happy. And so we love him. He learned his lesson. I learned my lesson. And one thing that he tells me to this day is that that experience that we had together in him watching me navigate, that nexus point of, do I represent myself by my core values or not? Like he actually learned a lot in how to mentor his students in the future. And so, yeah, that is not the villain origin story, but the origin story of the science maven. And I want to show you guys a little bit about a little bit of how I operate today, along with all of the amazing things that Jelana shared with you all about my accolades and what I do professionally. I am also a science rapper now. And I make rap music that teaches science. And I have gone incredibly viral doing this work. I am excited to make more music, but let me just tell you, I'm going to share my screen and as I'm fidgeting for these tabs, explain to you like how this all came about. How many of you guys like music? Who likes rap, hip hop, pop? How many of you are rappers? Oh, we gotta, Jelana has bars, which we will be hearing right after this talk. I'm just kidding. But so I graduated, right? I got a biology degree, bachelor's degree, and I also got a master's degree in biology. I worked in cancer research at a drug discovery firm. And I ended up leaving because I saw that there was a huge gap between science and the public, right? It wasn't enough for me to be a scientist. That wasn't enough for me. I wanted to make sure that everyone in the world could understand the groundbreaking science that's happening. Not only that, but just the basic science that they need to understand to be able to fully participate in society and understand what's happening in our world, to their bodies, to our environment, etc. And so the pandemic happened not shortly after I made this decision, and while I got a PhD in science education, COVID hit in 2020 while I was in grad school. And while I was in grad school, I was learning about science education. I ended up getting a science education degree, but um, the pandemic hit, and I realized people don't know as much science as they need to know to really make good decisions about their personal health and hygiene. So I made a song, and this is called, guys, culturally responsive science communication. And I'm hoping that some of you will get an opportunity to explore that um, in the OFIS program. Hold on. All right, I'm looking for the screen share button.
Lysol, wipe it down, Clorox, wipe it down, Lysol, wipe it down, Clorox, wipe it down, wash your body, wash your hair, and wash your hands too. Get some soap, scrub it down, and show me how you do it. Lysol, wipe it down, Clorox, wipe it down, Lysol, wipe it down, Clorox, wipe it down, wash your body, wash your hair, and wash your hands too. Get some soap, scrub it down, and show me how you do it. I ain't trying to catch the virus, you can call me on my wallet. Scientist up in the lab all day, and we've been working tireless. Quarantine, that's the thing, when we're making vaccines, cause you ain't gon' catch me slipping on no breathing machine. We gotta cancel everything, yup, cancel everything. Hold it down in your house, call it social distancing. Get out each other's space, limiting the visiting. Let me tell you what we know about COVID-19. It's a virus with a corona, a crown like a queen. Spreads around in crowds, infects human beings. Little droplets that form and coughs and sneezes. We're still learning about the new diseases. Take a bath and rap like Joe Simmons. Rev run on a treadmill, work, get fitness. Do what you gotta do, don't pass the sickness. Just stay up in your house and mind your business. Lysol, wipe it down, Clorox, wipe it down, Lysol, wipe it down, Clorox, wipe.
Yay! We love music. Okay. And then later that year, I'm a huge Megan Thee Stallion fan. She's just great. And later that year, the vaccines came out, and people needed to know about some of the science behind the vaccines. As you all may have experienced or witnessed, there was a lot of vaccine hesitancy. And so I wanted to do my part in sharing a little bit about our bodies. And this song in particular was sung on Saturday Night Live. And so that means that I did a really great job getting the word out. It was also on P Valley, which is, I don't think, no longer on. But yeah, this is inspired by Megan Thee Stallion. Please play. Please.
Antibodies, antibody, antibodies, antibodies, IgM, IgA, IgM, IgE, IgG, IgA, IgM, IgE, body, antibodies, antibody, antibodies, IgM, IgA, IgD, IgE, IgG, IgG, IgE, IgD. The category biology, lesson on immunology, little microbiology, this is the terminology. I got the vaccine and now you got me on the right night. B so know the haters when they see him, so it's fight night. Antibodies make the haters see the bright light. Compliment, they poke holes in chest like a white knight. Opsonizer, baby, that me make it tasty. Macrophages, they be looking, they might eat it up, they might bite. NK natural killers making haters going night night. Neutralizers, pocket shot.
Oh, you're on mute, Raven.
Anyways, but you guys get the the drift. I have made several other songs since then. Those are my first couple of songs that I've made. But I continue to blend humor, comedy, pop culture, fashion, um, cultural relatability with anything that I'm doing that's public facing, especially when it's to communicate science. I actually dedicated my dissertation research for my doctoral program on understanding the impact of doing this, and it's huge. When you show up as yourself, when you show up authentically, especially in these fields where showing up like this is not common, you inspire a lot of people. You can actually change lives. And so, what I want for you all the most is during this time that you're with OFIS and beyond, continue to harness those core values. Really sit and think about what is important to me, what is true to me. I want you to exercise that muscle of understanding who you are in relation to what everybody else expects you to be. And I want you to exercise the muscles of standing firm in what you believe in, even when it's hard, even when it's not common, even when everybody else is telling you, no, you need to be like this. If you are enjoying yourself, if you are being respectful and not hurting anybody else, that's all that matters. Be yourself. It is okay. I give you license to just be yourself. You will be okay. Now, I hope that this was inspiring to you. I really love telling these stories, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to see what you all do with OFIS.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Raven. This was truly inspirational. And one thing that we talk about in OFIS is how we communicate. Well, we talk about identity, but how we communicate science. And so what you shared today really kind of emphasizes the role of storytelling, but then also just being yourself and knowing that that is enough. So thank you so much for the presentation. I know that you've inspired something in everyone. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions, but we would ask that you put questions in the chat, and then we'll work with Raven to circle back and get some of those responses, okay? So please put your questions in the chat. What we'll do now is we're going to briefly go into breakout rooms. We'll have one for champions, for those that want to stay. Or actually, you'll stay right here, as the screen says. Then we have one for mentorship teams. So we'll have one for the New York team, the North Carolina team, and a Tennessee team. And then Hassan is going to talk briefly to the ambassadors. So one thing that we want you to do in the few minutes that you have to share, this is for the mentorship teams, we want you to figure out what time and what day your team is going to meet, because your mentorship team meetings start next week, okay? So talk, figure out a time, and then when you get in your mentorship teams, you're going to think of a name. And so we'll give you a little bit more guidance about what that looks like next week. But today, focus on that. Hassan, did I miss anything?
No. So there's an attendance tracking form in the chat. Everybody click on that before I open these rooms, because once I open them, you're all going to disappear, except for the champions.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'll do, click on that and we'll wait, and then we'll open up all the rooms.
Yep. And what we'll do is we will make sure, if you don't know about Raven, the science maven, we will share with you her social media channels, YouTube, IG, TikTok, whatever it is. And also make sure that you follow us on social media if you haven't as well. We'll make sure that you have that too.
Mm-hmm.
But
all that will be in our newsletter.
Yes.
Oh, and in the chat.
Yes. Thank you, Raven. And it'll be in our newsletter as well, which goes out tomorrow. So thank you. Congratulations to all of you for being part of OFIS. And we are just truly excited to have you here.
All right. We're opening the rooms now. We'll see you soon.
All right. And so champions, stay in this room. We'll chat for about 5 minutes or so.